I did the thesis because just over a decade ago I did a big report on aged care for the Uniting Church looking at the future. And what was interesting is that although the Uniting Church is the largest single player in aged care, the parishes that were involved with the oversight of aged care were actually in decline. And so I had done a master's degree in religious studies at the University of Sydney a quarter of a century ago, and I was invited to come back to do a PhD. So I thought this would be an excellent time. I took early retirement from Wesley Mission and used this as an opportunity just to look at where the Uniting Church had come from. I was involved right at the very beginning with the organisation of the original procession. So I was right there at the beginning. And so I was able to use this as an opportunity just really to explore where the Uniting Church has come from and why the hopes and visions and dreams that we had back in 1977 are now all crumbling. The research was drawn mainly from my own experience. So it's a different type of research from most PhD research, which is where people do the research from outside and then interview a lot of the participants. I'm an insider. So I was able to do it as a participant observer, as it's called, someone who's an observer but also a participant. So I'd sit at church meetings and just be making notes, etc. Plus I've got a host of my own documents. Everything that I use in the doctorate is in the public domain. There are no internal documents. Well, what I wanted to do with the thesis was to help the Uniting Church to look at why things are turning out sour and how we can actually look towards the future. It's not my job to predict how things are going to go. As a scenario planner, I'm simply providing 4 different scenarios. If I've done my job properly, one of these 4 scenarios will come into play. There are basically 3 ways of thinking about the future. One is prediction. So people make predictions about how the economy is going to go, what they're going to do this evening. A second way of thinking about the future is to have a vision and then to work towards that vision. President Kennedy in 1962 said that the Americans would put a man on the moon by 1970. That was the vision, and so it was necessary to build a bridge back from the future to the present. A third way of thinking about the future is to look at the possible futures, not what is being currently predicted, not what you'd necessarily like to see happen, but what could happen. And scenario planning is the technique to help people get a wider perception of the possibilities that could be emerging.